Travelers on the Omnibus occasionally touches on mature subject matter with mature language. As such, audience discretion is advised. Okay, go.
Shit. Welcome, everybody, to Travelers on the Omnibus, the field trip through nerd and pop culture. My name is Brady Davis.
I'm James McCarthy.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
I'm Jody Kite.
I have no idea where I am.
That's Jason Holden.
After that movie, none of us know where we are at.
Everyone's at my house right now.
My brain is scrambled.
I think so.
I think we are.
Or
Have we been trixied?
Or is this the reality that is both the afterlife and the before life?
And in between dreaming, I feel like I've taken some sort of psychedelic mushrooms and have taken a trip and never went anywhere.
So this is a state of place in which it is and is not my home.
Yes.
That's a fair assumption.
Yes.
Cool.
Ethan, what have you been doing? Threw you off on that one.
Yeah, you did.
Threw a curveball.
Yeah.
Stroking alert.
It's
Stroking
okay.
alert.
Jay threw me off when he just started recording after I made a joke.
Start the show. He was away from the thing, and
He
he's like,
called
okay.
your bluff, and I'm just being a dumbass.
Yeah. Well, you said it, not me.
Anyway, I've been saying that I've been playing Ghosts of Tsushima for the past few weeks.
You have been saying that.
Yes.
Yeah, sushimi. Yeah.
I messed up.
Okay.
Last week.
Okay.
All right.
So the game falls in 3 acts. Okay.
Okay.
First one after you rescue your uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Second one after you
Meet your dead mother.
my mother is dead, but regardless.
Jesus.
In the game.
Okay. All right.
As soon as you go
I was
into
about to bring
Act
it
2,
around and be like, me too.
I mean, I could talk about my father if we want to get dark.
as soon as you get into Act 2, it immediately gives you like a side quest where there's like all these like farmers that's like driven into insanity, and you have to fight a lot of enemies where a lot of them are shamans that insanely buff the armor of all of your other enemies. Okay.
Okay.
After you finish that side quest, it gives you an optional mission of traveling to the island of to Iki Island, which is full of raiders and bandits and pirates and whatnot.
Misfit toys.
Yeah.
I didn't read. I was a little hasty when I was like hitting like the controller buttons.
Uh-huh.
I didn't read the sentence that says "warning." Once you set onto this quest, you cannot come back to the main island until you finish this quest.
No.
And this is like a post game.
Oh, shit.
Oh, no.
Did you soft lock yourself?
No, I didn't soft lock. I beat it. So
Okay.
Nice.
But it's the frustrations of being completely derailed.
Ooh.
As opposed to what I said last week, where I don't like being derailed.
Yeah.
So that's a little goof that I did, but in return, I got some monkey armor.
Oh, okay.
Oh, man. Monkey armor.
Yeah, monkey armor's cool.
The armor increases the window for perfect parries.
Oh.
That also gives you combo counter attacks.
Nice.
That's pretty
And with
cool.
all my like damage buffs, it just completely just one shots everyone with counter attacks.
That's pretty
Awesome.
cool.
So that's just been me.
Okay. Jody, what you been doing?
So recently I've been watching a lot of Australian YouTubers.
Okay, that's very specific, but yeah, go ahead.
So, everybody at the tables watched like a couple of episodes of Cold Ones.
Yes.
We watched a couple of episodes
Yeah.
of that together. It's good. Those guys are pretty funny. And then there's the guys that originally just like dropped stuff from the top of the tower in Perth. How ridiculous!
Okay.
Now they throw like cars down hills.
Yeah.
And tires and all kinds of wacky shit. Bowling balls. And then Jay showed me a video of a guy who I guess he's friends with the dudes from Cold Ones because one of them was in his video.
Many kudos, yes.
Yeah, Mini
No,
Cooper.
they actually. I think now they're filming out of the same studio.
Yeah, I saw the studio and it looked like the Cold One studio. What was the name of that video that we watched last night? Or
That one was Mini Kudo's most recent videos on. I can't remember the name
Something about
directly,
hacking. It was
yeah,
about hacking.
it's about specifically people hacking video game companies.
Yeah, big hacking, giant hacking. Some of them nefarious, some of them just to expose flaws in code and things of that nature. The part about Apex Legends was pretty phenomenal. How they were in a tournament.
Not just a tournament.
They were in one of the tournaments?
It's the tournament.
Yeah.
The prize pool was, I think, somewhere. I know the winning team was 600,000.
600,000,
So
yeah.
the team gets paid 200,000 a piece out of the pool. But I think it was like 3 million over in winnings, and they had to postpone the whole thing because on stream, one person immediately had wall hacks turned on, and so he knew where everybody was on the map. He's like, "I'm getting hacked! I'm getting hacked!" And it's
Jesus.
like, "I have to quit!" And then the other guy,
Autobot.
he
Auto
had
aim or
yeah,
whatever.
auto aim
Yeah.
on put on. He was just
Yeah.
headshotting everything.
He's like, I'm cheating. I'm not trying to.
I'm cheating. Maybe if I don't shoot, I can stay in the game. No.
His buddies are like, leave.
Jesus.
Yeah, so there's some pretty entertaining stuff out there. You haven't watched those guys. And then we watched the Alaskan 4th of July car launch, which is, it was from last year. And I can't remember the name of the YouTube channel, but if you just type that in, it's the 40-minute one, where I don't remember exactly what.
That'd be 1320 video.
I can't remember what area of Alaska they were in, but they were in some part of the wilderness out there. They had the Yukon Coast Guard flying over to make sure everybody was, safe, I guess, from the cars going over this fucking cliff. They launched these like junkers over this cliff. And one of the cool parts they did, because they had like a rail for the ones that didn't really, didn't have a chance really at going on their own. And they took a car and painted it like the General Lee and then launched a cop car right behind it. So with the sirens on it, it was pretty amazing. Pretty good stuff there.
I know they do that because in that part of Alaska, it doesn't get dark enough for fireworks. So they do.
Oh, that makes a whole lot more sense.
They
Well,
throw
they have
cars
30
on.
days of day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've seen clips of that. I hadn't watched the whole thing,
That's pretty
but it
wild.
did seem very funny.
It's in Glacier View, Alaska.
Watch the newest episode of What Have You Been Up To, or whatever Cody Rhodes' show on YouTube is. Through
What
the
do you want to
WWE.
talk about?
What do you
What
want to talk about?
Okay.
With Ron Killings, a.k.a. R-Truth.
I bet that was a trip.
That was a trip. It was very entertaining because Rhodes pretty much like hazed him through most of the interview because when they were working together, when Cody had so many gimmicks, and he's like, yeah, I think I remember you beating me almost every match we ever had. He's like, yeah, I think every gimmick, right? And so he gave him some shit, and it looked like Cody was like trying to like go into business for himself and booking a match where he puts himself over Ron Killings, just because of all the years of like as dashing Cody Rhodes and all that, losing to R-Truth and everything. It was fucking great. It was good stuff. And so there's a Netflix show has a new season out. It's called Too Hot to Handle.
Okay.
It's already Ethan's like shaking his head in disappointment, like everyone else is internally. It's a show where they get 20-somethings on this island, and if they make out while they're on the island, the host, which is a robot.
Wow. I didn't expect. Hold on. Shit.
It's like Alexa. It's very much
Do
like
we want to just cut here and go straight to the boy and the heron? I think we're not topping that one, Brady, with what we've been doing. Like I was
I was with you.
Yeah.
I was with you.
Yeah.
And then you said it was hosted by a robot, and that completely like
A robot who's also apparently like fucking like a chaperone.
Yeah.
And if he sees them making out by the punch bowl, they're gonna they have to leave the prom or some shit.
that caught me off guard.
There's a prize pool. This season it's $200,000. But the funny thing is, like, you get all these like young hot people together, and they're like, it's like we shouldn't make out because we're gonna lose money.
Yeah.
But nobody's watching. There's cameras everywhere. Every time they say that,
you also get young, really dumb people.
they're most of them are pretty dumb. And
What's this like pack with like this little like microphone looking thing that they handed all of us? What is this?
Well, we've got microphones. No one can hear us though.
Yeah.
It's a fucking traffic cone.
Yeah, it's an Alexa traffic cone basically, and yeah, what they do is like at the end of the day they'll like, okay, everybody is like everybody gather at the fire pit, and they're like, Lana wants, that's the name of the AI.
Stop.
Jesus
Lana,
Christ.
Stop.
Lana needs to talk to us at the fire pit. Somebody's in trouble, and they're like, yeah, someone broke the rules, and now there's $15,000 deducted from the fund of whoever wins the show. And everybody looks at each other like, "Who did it? Who made it?" It's like, I didn't do it, and it's every episode. It's every episode.
Jesus Christ.
But they're trying to build like bonds that'll last forever. But they've had like 5 seasons of this show, and nobody that's like the couple that wins, they've never stayed together.
Yeah,
and they're from different countries most of the time.
So?
Yeah,
You think so?
Yeah.
Of course they're not going to be
Yeah,
together.
because they're apparently hooking up on like the Mormon Tabernacle Island. Like, what the fuck?
That's exactly what's happening. That's me.
Okay, I think I'm going to throw it.
Brady, I don't think anyone's topping that. I'm very glad I went first.
We could. I'm just saying. We could.
I mean,
no,
we're
listen.
not, but like,
Yeah. Had you known that would have been his last, would you have had him?
I would have had him go
Yeah,
last.
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, just
You
checking.
didn't tell me a fucking robot hosted reality show
This is why, like, I'm 100% truthful.
where a bunch
on
of
the pre-show.
horned up young people
Yeah.
try not to make out,
Yeah.
which is an impossible fucking task. Saying that like when I was that age, I made out at all. So shit. So yeah, I guess so I can have time to recover. Let's throw it to our guest, Jason Holder. What have you been up to?
We don't do this on my show.
Yeah.
So,
This is your moment to just let it all out.
right.
Yeah.
Mostly being unemployed.
Okay. Yeah.
Although that ends Monday. So, there is that.
There you go.
So I've been painting Age of Sigmar since the new 4th edition has come out. And Brady and myself have gotten our box. And at the time of recording, our friend Chris has gotten his. Even
Finally.
though
His second, but the first one he had to return.
that was an adventure for him.
Yeah.
So I've been painting some Slaves to Darkness. Getting most of them done halfway through a Spearhead. Brady and I played a couple of games. So it's pretty fun. The new rules are good.
Yeah.
Spearhead's fun. Even if I did set up my army wrong the first time we played.
There's an asterisk on his win because
made that one a little overbalanced.
yeah, I would say so. So Slaves to Darkness, if nobody's ever seen them, they basically look like a Franz Frazetta poster. They're just like dark fantasy.
Yeah,
like
that's what they are.
they're the bad guys. If you couldn't take it from their name, but yeah. I guess I can talk about it a little bit too. Yeah, I love it so far. I'm really looking forward to. I'm wanting to play a 2,000 point game pretty soon because I've been watching a lot of like full size games, and Spearhead is very fun, but like I'm really aching to play like a full size game.
Yeah,
of
because
that pretty soon.
Spearhead's a knockdown version. It doesn't have all of the rules. It condenses a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
it is legit made to. Hey, do you have a friend that is interested and kind of wants to play Age of Sigmar with you? Cool. They don't have to spend $800, $900 to buy an army. They can spend $100 and play and see if they like it. Or hey, are you playing Age of Sigmar already and you kind of want to try a new army, but you don't want to pull the trigger on like that $800 or $900 investment? Cool. You can spend $100 and get a Spearhead, and you're gonna find out how that army plays.
Yeah. Or say you have a time constraint. You don't have 3.5 hours to play a full game.
Yeah.
You have an hour and a half, hour, you can knock this out in that time. It's just a quick setup, you don't have to build any army or anything like that or prepare for anything. It's just here's your models, set them up, and it works really well, I think.
And the other things, since nobody here plays any of them, Final Fantasy XIV had their most recent expansion drop about right at a month ago now, 3 weeks ago. So I've been playing through that. It is getting very mixed reviews story-wise. I personally enjoyed the story, but there were a whole lot of points where it was like, yeah, this is Kitty's first RPG type thing. There were points that just didn't make a whole lot of sense. Mm-hmm. And on Tuesday, World of Warcraft just did their pre-patch for their next expansion. We're actually going back to Azeroth and really Warcraft in general. We're not in space anymore. We're not in the underworld. We're not in this island that suddenly appeared and had dragons on it. It's back to, hey, we're back on Azeroth again. Okay. And there's a new race, the Earthen, which were the original dwarves.
Okay. And
no new classes, but all of the classes are getting hero trees, which are, hey, you're a paladin. Paladins had 3 talent trees in the past. And their tanking tree, which was protection. They got a retribution tree, which was damage. And they had holy, which was for healing. Well, now they have trees that are put in between each of those. So, hey, you're a holy ret paladin. I think that's called the Templar. And you get hero points to put in there to get different abilities and kind of balance the specs a little more. Looks interesting. You can partner your people up for war bands.
So you're saying that they branched out with the trees?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
Get the
we
gun.
can just
Get
end
the gun.
we can just end
Wait.
the podcast
This
now.
is even more appropriate.
Don't ever say that in my presence.
Okay, there you go. That was your don't ever say, and it was great, but you can't hear that. But it's okay.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing. Playing some video games, painting some Sigmar. So,
Okay.
Hooray. And then getting lost in this movie that we watched.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
lot of us are still
we'll
recovering.
get to that. And for those, if you're wondering, hey, what the hell are we talking about? And you for some reason clicked on this and didn't read the description.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about later The Boy and the Heron, the most
last.
recent Miyazaki movie.
Miyazaki.
I'm not saying the last because who fucking
Well,
knows
the
what
last
that
one
means.
he's done.
Yeah.
The most recent.
The most recent
Yeah.
one is the correct way to say that. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go next because I kind of said my piece about Age of Sigmar Spearhead. I haven't been painting because I have trouble starting painting, so I haven't been doing that. But I have been, watching a lot of stuff with Age of Sigmar, and I've gotten really excited. And like I said, I really, really want to get 2,000 points on the board and play a full game. Atomic Mass Games had their mini extravaganza, so they previewed a bunch of new stuff for Marvel Crisis Protocol and Star Wars Shatterpoint. They revealed everything, for Marvel Crisis Protocol. The big thing is they revealed pretty much everything having to do with Apocalypse. He looks really cool because he has a leadership ability where he basically chooses people that he's with to be his horsemen if they're eligible, and they get a horseman of war, a horseman of pestilence, a horseman of famine, a horseman of death, and they each get a different power, and they gain him evolution tokens which he can use for different things. And he's all about putting statuses on people, and things getting worse the more statuses are on people. And so that's pretty cool. They previewed the Phoenix is getting a model. You're gonna have a regular Phoenix, who I think is probably gonna be a hero, and then you're gonna have Phoenix Unleashed, who I think is gonna be the bad guy, the one versus all kind of mode that they have. Let's see. In Shatterpoint, they talked about they showed off the entirety of the pack that has Grand Admiral Thrawn in it, and he looks very interesting. They showed off some packs from Rogue One. They're gonna have some of those characters, pretty much all the well-known characters between 2 packs. They showed off they didn't show off any of the abilities or anything, but some of the the newer Jedi packs that are coming out. There's also going to be the Krennic, the bad guy from Rogue One. He's getting a pack with 2 different support units.
Yeah, Death Troopers and Shore Troopers.
Yeah. And
that pack, actually, I really like the look on that.
yeah,
one.
that one looks really cool. And Empire has got some really good stuff coming because they also they showed a General Veers pack, which looks really cool because he can do like a strike on a and just cause damage to anybody that's on a point and things like that. So it's really cool. So all that does look really cool. And then besides this movie that we just watched, I also watched another movie that I really wanted to see in theaters and I just didn't get a chance to, but it's actually finally out on Max, and that is Love Lies Bleeding. This is a movie by Rose Glass. Her previous movie was Saint Maud, which I really, really enjoyed.
I need to see that.
It's a really, really good horror movie. But this one is very different. This is kind of a Coen Brothers-esque, although it's not as funny as Coen Brothers, but it's a Coen Brothers-esque like crime thriller. It takes place in the 80s. It's Kristen Stewart, who I think is a good actress, but she's doing this is a really Kristen Stewart character.
Okay.
Where she just kind of doesn't know what's going on. She's constantly like fumbling over her words. She's not deadpan, but she's constantly like, "What? Huh? What?" Like and it's not bad. It's just not like I know she has better range than this, and she's just doing, but it's still good. It's a good performance. It's just not outside of like the wheelhouse that you've seen her do. Mm-hmm. She is a super, super, super lesbian. She is about as lesbian as you can get in this movie. And she works at this gym, and she meets this female bodybuilder type girl, and they fall in love, but then shit starts going wrong, and then they have to deal with that. You find out that Kristen Stewart's father, who is played by Ed Harris in the most spectacular skullet you have ever seen, which I read was actually he wore it as a joke, and then the director was just like, "Yeah, this is cool. We're doing this." But yeah, it's a pretty good movie. Everybody does really good. The other chick, I think her name is Katie O'Brien. She does really, really good.
Also has Dave Franco in it.
Dave Franco is playing a real Dave Franco type. It's a really good movie, and it's interesting because it is such a departure from what Saint Maud is, and it's still a very interesting movie. It gets really weird at the end. I still don't fully understand what happens at the end, but to say any more about that would really spoil it, and I don't want to do that. But yeah, I would say definitely if you like those kind of those crime thrillers that are in the Coen Brothers area of the way they do things. Although, like I said, it's not really as funny.
It's more like Blood Simple.
Yeah, it's closer to that probably. But if you like those, then I would say definitely check it out. And it's pretty interesting. I liked it. So that is me, and that just leaves Jay. What have you been doing?
I'm 0-3 at Marvel Champions games over the last week.
Oh yeah.
That is literally all I've been doing. So there you go. We're done.
I am also not doing well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Logan, me and him, we were talking about Marvel Champions, and he has his, I believe, his own Wolverine deck.
Yeah. He built a really solid one. Yeah. He was a part of the last game that I was on the winning team, but I still died before the end.
He says that him just going on solo runs, Rhino just completely kicks his ass.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah, Rhino can be very difficult in single player. Yeah. If you don't have a way to deal with threat very easily, then he definitely does that.
Yeah.
I remembered one more thing I did.
Oh, okay.
I watched Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. It's on
I'm
Netflix.
sorry.
Oh, no.
I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
It doesn't look like a bad movie. The problem is that its main title is Ghostbusters.
Right.
Yeah.
And this one, like, I would say this one's better than the last one, but that's not saying a whole lot.
Really, for it to be better than the last one, it just can't. As long as it just doesn't have the ghost of
Harold
Ramis in it.
So,
AKA Egon.
Yeah, spoilers for whatever the fucking name of that Ghostbusters movie that came out before this one is.
The quote unquote plot device in this one is that
Afterlife. by the way.
Yeah, Afterlife.
I didn't care to look it up. I was
yeah.
fine if nobody said it.
So they have a ghost situation that happens in
Ghostbusters?
yeah.
Oh shit!
in
Ghosts
the
and Ghostbusters.
in the very beginning of the movie that causes a lot of destruction, and so the mayor, who is played by the same character actor
He
who
was the EPA guy.
The EPA guy.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
You
I
don't
haven't
know
watched the
anything about
movie,
it, and that's-
but you
yeah.
explained part
Right.
of it, and I was
Right.
like, of course, that's
Yeah.
exactly what they do.
Right. So because of everything that's happening, they have to be a little bit more on the down low, and also the youngest of the family, she's like 15, and it's like no child labor, like we can't have her like going around and being dangerous.
Nah, sir, it's a family business.
Right.
We can
Right.
have toddlers working here, sir.
Right. And the plot device, the MacGuffin, is that the containment unit has never been cleaned out. So for some reason, that's what they do. And
This is a plot
Yeah.
from the real Ghostbusters
It is.
cartoon.
It is.
There was an episode.
It is.
There was a fucking episode
Yes.
in the real
There was.
Ghostbusters cartoon.
Yes.
That was this exact thing.
Yes.
This exact fucking thing.
they basically borrowed parts from the cartoon and different parts from the original 2 movies.
Brady's about
And
to have
kind
an
of-
aneurysm.
I mean, between the fucking robot thing and this, I don't like.
They
Jesus.
don't even like in the trailer. There was like little tiny Stay Puft Marshmallow Men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't fucking explain it. They go see
No,
Dan.
because the whole reason they're there is for you to go, oh, look, it's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I know that reference.
They go see Dan Aykroyd because there's another actual ancient MacGuffin sphere thing or whatever.
Does he tell them it's aliens?
Yeah.
Did he give them Crystal Skull
I
vodka?
found those little guys on an adventure, whatever. It's like, okay, sure.
That doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
The whole reason the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was there was because one of you thought of it.
Right.
Well, specifically
him.
Specifically him.
I
Like,
will
wasn't-
say it has, of course, it has Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
It has Eddie.
Ernie Hudson?
Ernie
Ernie
Hudson,
Hudson,
not
yeah.
Eddie. Ernie Hudson.
The Crows, Ernie Hudson.
The Crows, Ernie Hudson. I just hope they don't do that walking against the wind shit. I hate that shit.
I'm not looking at anyone in particular right now because if I do, it's all over.
Speaking of the Crow, that's about to come out.
Oh, no.
Yeah, buddy.
Let's move on.
All right.
In my head, I wanted to start saying "Cry, Little Sis." That's the Lost Boys.
That's the
Yeah.
Lost Boys. Would you like to watch that on VHS? It'll cost you $200.
There's a really edgy cover of that in the new Crow. It really looks like it needs that.
We need Joel Schumacher and a saxophone, dude.
No, sir. No. There aren't covers in the new Crow. The director said that he is using modern music to pull in the modern crowd
Oh, yeah.
to watch the Crow, and then maybe they will connect the same way that the crowd that watched the Crow in the 90s connected to it because of the modern music, and it might pull in the new people that watched the new one to go see the old one. That it's an homage to the old one. And then the director of the old one came out and said, "Fuck you."
Yeah. You fucking monsters.
That sounds correct.
What are we going to get? We're going to get like Buck Cherry and Skibbity Toilet, Ohio. That's what's going to happen.
I think Buckcherry is still too old.
Buck Cherry's too old for the.
Rock
for the-
and roll in the mainstream consciousness has been dead for a long time.
I can't even think of like what modern music would be.
the only way they would be
new
able
Crow.
to salvage something out of it would be the entire soundtrack is Ghost.
with "Not Like Us" by Kendrick Lamar just showing up out of nowhere.
Ghost has 2 new music videos out.
One is from Mariana Cross,
Yeah.
and I forgot what the other one is. But I think
it's
that's
one that was just from Right Here, Right Now. That they
I think
did.
actually both of them. I think that cartoon is like it's kind of like this.
So-
this
so
is
to-
right here, right now.
okay.
Like the Moonwalker
Okay,
of Ghost.
to understand whatever the fuck is happening in these 2 animated videos, you have to have watched other
Right.
video, and not music videos,
No.
just videos.
The
of-
lore videos.
You have to watch some of the lore videos
Yeah.
to understand this.
It is Mariana Cross and The Future is a Foreign Land.
Yeah. Unless that was on one of their because I think that's a cover, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
And unless it was on one of their other cover albums, it's not on their newest one,
Right.
But they did a couple.
Yeah.
If You Have Ghost and Pope Star. But yeah, to understand even what the fuck is going on with that video, you have to watch like 3 other things. And
Yeah.
I'm like, man, y'all really went out there, didn't y'all?
They like doing that.
Yeah.
Done in old Hanna-Barbera.
By y'all and they, you mean Tobias Forge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jay, do we have any feedback?
We have feedback this week from passenger Austin Van Dolan, aka Van Damage. He has a note for Brady. From our episode on the top 5
Do I
guilty
need to get a
pleasures
fuck
of
you
all
ready?
time. Hold on a second. Take bowling for soup off the list. They're awesome. They're not a guilty pleasure. They're just a pleasure.
I love Bowling for Soup, but I
Yes,
also
but take them off the list. They're just a pleasure, not a guilty pleasure.
I don't even remember that I put them on there, to be honest. But yeah, I love Bowling for Soup, but they're also not the greatest. Like I'm sorry, like they're fun,
There you go.
but they aren't the greatest. Like
Just to let your friend know, if I didn't mention this before when we were talking about it on the show, probably did when we were doing that top 5. 1985 was written by the lead singer from SR-71.
Jesus.
That's why they have a similar kind of has a similar feel to that,
That's interesting.
flavor of the week song.
Yeah.
There you go.
I got into them when the song was "Girl All the Bad Guys Want." So yeah, I like I said, I fucking love them. But if you tell anybody that you're really into Bowling for Soup, they're gonna give you looks. So you just gotta realize that.
There you go.
So yeah, I mean that's all I gotta say about that.
I mean, I get the same look for when I say like Andrew WK, man.
Yeah,
Pretty
I
awesome
like
stuff,
Andrew
yeah.
WK. I got that first album.
I like the song where he talks about party.
That's 8 of them on the
that's
album.
all of them.
On the first,
I
on the
just thought
first
that
one.
was just one real long 35-minute song.
Yeah, there's like 8 songs about partying on the
That is
first
kind
album.
of that first album.
That
where it's
second
just one
album
song.
only had 3 songs about partying on them.
Oh man, you really cut it back.
He cut it back.
Was it that album? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was that the album where it's just like, okay, you want a party song? It's just him saying party for 40 minutes.
It was it's time to party till you puke. I can't even remember what the single was.
Let's Get a Party
Let's
Started.
Get a Party Started.
Yeah.
Like half of the songs on that album were like had party in the title.
Yeah. So there you go.
There you go.
There's your feedback.
All right. So, Austin, thank you for the feedback this week. And passengers, thank you for jumping on the bus with us this week. If you would like to leave feedback of your own, travelers on the omnibus at gmail.com. Again, that is travelers, 1L on the omnibus at gmail.com. Jody, how else can they engage with us?
You can walk backwards for 15 seconds, turn around sideways, and do 15 different password resets and get on your Spotify and message us that way directly.
That sounds like a more personal situation.
That seemed like
It sounds like how you get in contact with us.
like you have a personal issue.
Record a podcast or Spotify and find out.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for joining us. If you enjoy the show and you'd like to share that with friends who don't listen to podcasts on the same channels you do, we're available on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and YouTube Music through our YouTube channel, Travelers on the Omnibus. Who'd have thought?
Who would have thought it?
There you go.
Well, I think that will lead us into our trippy ass main topic. There's nothing more pathetic than telling the world you'll retire because of your age than making yet another comeback. Is it truly possible to accept how pathetic that is and do it anyway? Doesn't an elderly person deluding themselves that they're still capable despite their geriatric forgetfulness prove that they're past their best? You bet it does. Hayao Miyazaki.
Did we watch the Ric Flair documentary?
mean,
Is that what's going on here?
Basically.
This is not the Ric Flair documentary. This is the Terry Funk documentary.
Yeah. This is an old man dealing with shit. That's basically what this movie is. So we
Miyazaki
watched.
still has his knees though.
That is true. He could
He also can breathe because he's not dead.
yeah. He could probably do a drop kick, I think.
Once.
Once.
Yeah.
He couldn't do top rope moves. But so we literally just watched The Boy and the Heron.
Yeah, this
for our
would be
final.
more of a, more of a first impressions kind of deal because we haven't had a chance to
first
let it marinate.
impressions, second impressions for me. I'm the only one of us who have actually watched this movie before.
Which means you could probably could retain more of what was going on.
Which I retained more. I decided to not take notes throughout this, but I did write some things down. But yeah, so this is Miyazaki's most recent movie. I'm going to say his most recent movie, not his last movie, not his final movie.
This is like his fifth retirement movie.
This is like 8th retirement, sir. He's retired.
Mononoke was his first retirement movie. And then it's just keeps
just about
happening.
everyone after that has been his retirement movie.
Howl's Moving Castle,
Howl's
Moon
Moving-
Rising.
Yeah.
Mononoke is when he left the WWE.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To continue our Ric Flair comment. then he went to TNA with Howl's Moving Castle, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that was done, he made a quick jump in the Indies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then he came back with this for AEW.
Yeah.
And at some point, he's going to have a heart attack in the ring. 'Cause, I mean,
Yeah.
And take a nap for 20 minutes.
That was also like Cody Rhodes' experience, what you just explained. there.
Yeah. I mean,
said he was retiring.
No, but he jumped many ponds.
but yeah. So this came out in 2023. This actually won the Oscar for Best Animated Picture. It is only the second traditionally animated movie to win that. The first one being Spirited Away, also by Hayao Miyazaki. According to the producers, this is the most expensive film ever produced in Japan.
Wow.
I did not fact check that, so if it's wrong,
Well, we can fact check. This is the 5th highest grossing Japanese movie of all time.
It is very funny. I read this out of, so I got the Boy and the Heron Blu-ray, and they always come with these G4 Kids productions always come with like a little booklet insert, and most of them have like a little essay or a couple of essays or a little bit from, like, they have an essay from somebody talking about like the impact of the movie, and then they have like something either from Miyazaki or from a producer or somebody, like a little write-up that was from like some other piece. This one is just filled with Miyazaki going, oh man, can I really do this? Is this even going to work? And this was him writing this in like 2016 because this was like a 7-year production. It was supposed to only be 3 years.
Yeah, it's second only in production time to The Tale of Princess Kaguya, which was 8 years.
But it's a lot of him like saying, hey, I'm like 75 right now. Can I even fucking do this? And if you can't tell, that comes out on the screen. Like, there's a lot of, like, again, this is kind of Miyazaki dealing with his own shit.
Well, also, like, just from the notes that I believe it's not Toshio Suzuki's the producer. It was Takeshi Honda, Takeshi Honda, who is the director of animation for this film.
Yes.
Typically, in a Hayao Miyazaki film, he scrutinizes every cell. I believe we mentioned in the Mononoke review that he redrew somewhere in the neighborhood of like umpteen thousand, so like in the tens of thousands of cells. Which for at that age would have been taxing for a 75 now 84 or 83-year-old man right now is an impossibility. So this is a lot of ways. This is also kind of this, I would say, is a true showing of this is now the passing of the torch from the previous generation of Ghibli creators to the next generation of Ghibli creators.
And he even talks in there in that little write-up where he's like lamenting all of this stuff, where he talks about organizing and who's going to be working on this. And he does talk about like getting like the younger animators in on this one. This movie was, if you look up this movie in Japan, it was called How Do You Live? That comes in later. I kind of like that title a little better.
And it's strange. He stole from Goro in this one. There is an actual story from 1939 by Genzaburo Yoshihino, which is The Boy and the Heron, and has nothing to do with this movie.
Yeah.
So he saw what Goro did with Tales from Earthsea. He was like, I can do better than that.
Yeah, I mean, probably. This is one of his most personal movies, I believe. I think The Wind Rises is his other like super personal movie. And it's funny because The Wind Rises is his most like grounded, down to earth. Like there's some dream sequences that do some weird stuff, but it's kind of just a straight biopic of this guy, the guy who created the Zero plane. And this one is his absolute most batshit out there esoteric trippy movie. Like this is one of the trippiest movies that you'll watch, and it's weird. This is the most weird. Like most of Miyazaki's other movies are kind of straightforward. Like you can easily say what the plot is and what all this stuff means. But this one is kind of like it's drenched in symbolism and metaphor, and
there's a lot of visuals from other movies too that you can see, like the old lady from Spirited Away. Like she looks like some of the old lady characters that are in this.
You mean the goblins with the broomsticks?
Yeah, the goblins with the broomsticks.
His metaphor is more personal. Like the metaphor in things like Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle, Castle in the Sky, those are more genre specific or a kind of a calling specific. Like his notions of the earth and what we're doing to it. Like I think that comes out that's coming out more in his. I think there's a quote, and we kind of giggled at it, but I think I kind of get where he's going to. Toshio Suzuki, who is the producer of this film, who I believe has since retired from Ghibli. I'm not 100% sure on that one. But Suzuki said that Miyazaki is working on the film for his grandson, and his way of saying, quote, "Grandpa is moving on to the next world, but he's leaving behind this film." And I think there's a notion of familial responsibility, but not necessarily the children to the parents, but a parent and a grandparent to the children.
Miyazaki hates his grandson. I feel like that can be said right now based on this movie.
Maybe, or see, I was a little bit more hopeful about this one because to me it's a story of a child working through the loss of a parent, and then set in extraordinary circumstances.
And then also above that is someone looking for a successor, and they have created this fantastical world, and the success the would-be successor just saying, okay, well maybe it's best that we just tear this down. If that's not a metaphor for Hayao and Goro, I don't know what he is.
Right, because like the reality is like this is the backdrop of like World War II. You know?
Yeah, so this takes place during World War II.
Literally, the opening is the firebombing.
Yeah, the fire
Tokyo.
one of the fire bombings of Japan. Our main character Mahito, who is modeled very much after Miyazaki when he was young.
He's awoken by sirens.
He's awoken by sirens.
People running in panic.
He hears that the hospital has been bombed, and his mother works there. So he runs down there, and this is where we get one of the first times in a Ghibli movie where I've seen where things get very abstracted, where he starts running and things start kind of like stretching and moving,
like stretching
and running together,
like paint smearing almost.
Yeah, and then smear, and there's this smearing because he's running, and
the movement through fire.
Yeah, the movement through the fire,
really cool.
I love the fire animation. In
Yeah.
this.
Oh yeah.
This is
amazing.
Yeah, like throughout this entire movie, the animation and the score are spot on.
Yeah.
Again, shout out to Joe Hisaishi, which this is like his umpteenth billion.
Yeah, and this
Ghibli
is a
score.
very this is a low key stripped back score. There's a little bit of like bombast in this, but it's mostly like very thoughtful.
It really complements everything that you're viewing.
Yeah, complement the exact whatever you're seeing on screen, like it fits it to a fucking T, and everything is like super gorgeous with this. But then we hear that 3 years into the war, my mom died, and then we kind of cut forward, and then it says 1 year after that we left Tokyo.
It's just him and his father.
So he leaves
At
with
this
his
point.
father, and they go, into the countryside. We find out his father has a factory in this town that builds the covers for the cockpits of the canopies for airplanes for the fighters, which is pretty much what Miyazaki's father did during the war. So yeah, they moved there. His father is like all kind of gung ho. We find out that his father has remarried. We later find out that this is his mother. This is Mahito's mother's sister.
So his aunt.
Alabama.
Yeah. So and also that she looks strikingly like his mother. So there's
That's
that.
not gonna cause any trauma.
Yeah,
with
that's
him.
not going to cause any trauma. The dad, he's like, hey, I got to go to the factory, so he jets off, and
They're like this like stagecoach on not a stagecoach,
like a
but,
rickshaw.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a
kind of like a rickshaw, except that it's by bicycle.
Yeah.
Right.
If you go to New Orleans, you see these shits
Yeah.
all over the place.
You get the feeling
It's like a
immediately
taxi.
that he's not happy at all.
No,
Like,
he
he's
is
very
a very
uncomfortable.
unhappy
He's-
boy. He is not happy with this situation. He is not happy with having to deal with this new woman who is his aunt, but is also now his stepmom.
Stepmom, yeah.
where it's also revealed that she is pregnant with
Yeah,
his,
she's pregnant.
with his brother/sister.
Yeah, and the way she reveals it is just, give me your hand.
Yeah, give me your hand.
Feel my belly.
She is a very
There's a baby in there, and it's like, what the hell?
Except for one time, she is a very like kind woman to him.
Yeah,
like
she's very nice.
She's never not nice, except for one particular part that we'll get to. But she's very nice. They go to the house. They go inside. It's this huge. It's there's like a mansion area. Yeah, there's like it's like an estate really. Like there's like a traditional like Japanese part of it, and then there's another entire house that they actually live in.
Has a whole ass garden and a pond.
Yeah, they see that the titular Heron comes through. The Heron we see the Heron watching them as they're walking up. They also meet all these old ladies,
Like the 7 goblins huddling over a suitcase.
Yeah, they are all because the dad brings a suitcase and they take it home, and then the guy who does the little rickshaw thing, he takes it in. And we see them like all climbing up, like it's really weird. The old ladies are drawn terrifyingly in this.
Yes.
They
yeah,
remind me of like the witch from Spirited Away.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Jody
that's
said.
I mentioned.
they're like 7 of those.
Their
So-
the heads are like disproportionate to their
and they're all
bodies.
supposed to be human.
Yeah.
They're not.
But yeah,
I'm
they-
letting you know,
they
they're
open-
not.
They open up the
Suitcase.
The stepmom finally takes the suitcase and they sit down and it's full of like
Canned goods.
canned food and sugar, and they freak out over sugar. And you have to remember
This
that
is the 40s.
this is during wartime, and there's extreme rationing, especially in
Right.
Japan. Like we had extreme rationing in America, but like they had extreme rationing because they don't have that many resources on Japan. In Japan, so they're freaking out about that. All the while, Mahito is just a little sourpuss. Like he's a sourpuss this
He is
whole
not
time.
happy about any of it.
They go to the house. They show him his room.
The stepmom says that she's gonna bring him some tea.
He collapses on the
so he can-
bed.
Yeah, he collapses on some tea. He kind of falls asleep, and we see the Heron being really weird. The Heron is super creepy. Like all the bird, like
Yeah.
we figured out kind of that Miyazaki has like a problem with birds, because every single bird in this is just the most like terrifying thing. If you like,
I would argue everything outside of Mahito and his father is completely strange in this movie because
This is true.
Because they all come from this place. Like his father and him are the only are the outsiders coming into this.
Yeah.
And so there's this disconnect there. But that disconnect with that place is also the connection to the audience, especially with Mojito. I'm going to call him a mojito, and there's going to be like some lime juice and tequila references in there. Mojito. I'm going to get that right. I swear to God. But I think that's that connection. It's that bewilderment. It's reflected in him, though he has a personal connection to this
Yeah.
because this is where his mother's family is from.
yeah, I think that's very possible. Also, another connection, Mahito to Miyazaki. His mother died in a very similar way, with a hospital fire.
And you said he also grew up with a heron as a friend or something.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. He definitely had a heron that turned into a weird dude and made him go on quests. So
Danny DeVito crawls
this is
out of a
really kind
bird.
of just a
It's
biography, an
yeah.
autobiography,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah, when that, I know I'm jumping a little bit, but when that thing starts talking and the nose starts coming out of the top
like
part
the
of the
heron
beak,
will talk to him, and as it starts talking, it grows teeth, and then
Human teeth.
Yeah, human teeth, and then a nose starts poking out, and then eyes start poking out. It's really
fucking weird.
Yeah, it's really fucking weird.
And this character is voiced by Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, who you would not have guessed. I thought until the very end when I first watched this, I thought it was Willem Dafoe, and then I heard Willem Dafoe in another thing, and I was like, well, wait, that's Willem Dafoe. Okay, so is he doing two things?
I think, which you wouldn't necessarily be like wrong for thinking that because they're both bird characters.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't remember exactly what comes next.
He goes to the lake soon after that.
He grabs a stick.
He grabs a stick, or is that before?
Wait,
or after?
this is-
I think he goes to school.
He goes to
first.
school first.
Yeah,
he goes to school.
He goes
first.
to school. His dad's like, "Hey, you're gonna be really cool because you're gonna come here. You're a new kid, and you're gonna come. I'm gonna drive you in my car.
Everyone's
which is a
going to be
piece of shit.
amazed.
And all the poor kids are going to really love you.
And all the poor kids are gonna love you. His dad is kind of oblivious to
Right.
things, and you can tell his dad's been well off for a very long time, and he's not used to like dealing with like
Right.
things.
Very much American Psycho vibes.
Yeah,
a little bit.
and that fits because this guy's voice. The dad is voiced by Christian Bale.
Yeah.
He gets there and
no kids
one
want
likes
to.
him. We see that they're like he drives up and there's like these agricultural volunteers who I think are kids who just had quote unquote volunteer
Right.
to go work in the fields instead of go to school. And they all kind of look at him, and then he goes into class and they all kind of look and talk about him. And then as he's going and he's walking home, some of those same agricultural volunteers, we don't ever hear this. We just see it from afar. They
have an exchange.
of words, and then they push him
the
down and
shit out
start
of
beating the shit out of him.
He's all scruffled up and he's walking home all by himself.
And then he picks up a rock, and somebody said, "Oh hell yeah, he's gonna get him." And it's like, nope. He bashes his head, the side of his head in with a rock.
That was Jody because it's like, oh, he's going to get him now. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Like, that was
Blood just
Jody's
starts
response.
pouring
Yeah.
out the
And
side
this
of
is-
his face.
Yeah, and this is where the movie earns its PG-13 rating because more blood than has ever been in a human being's head pours out of his head.
Yet another wrestling reference because he's straight up bladed.
Yeah, it's that A Guerrero match where he
blade
almost
to the temple.
he hits himself in the side of the head.
I thought for a second there he might have hit himself in the ear from where all the blood was pouring out of for a second.
But yeah, then we cut to he's in bed. They've got him bandaged up. His dad runs in. He's like, "Hey,
Tell me who
tell
did
me
this.
who did this, and we're gonna make that fucking kid pay."
And
I
he-
swear to fucking God.
I fell down the stairs.
Yeah.
Audience.
He's like, "Oh, I fell down," and he's like, "No, you didn't. Some kid did this to you, and I'm gonna figure out who. And we're gonna fuck that kid up.
Where is he?
Where is he?
Well, swear to me.
Swear to me." So
Wait, let me see if this sounds better.
swear to me.
No.
That's like Batman at the end of Batman Begins, when they're
Oh,
like
yeah.
freaking out.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Maito's just like, it wasn't anybody, and his dad's like, well, I'm gonna find this fucking kid. We're gonna find this goddamn kid. So they leave him alone, and
The window's up.
the window's up, and the Heron comes to see him, and tells
He
him,
just starts yelling, Mahito.
yeah, it's
Well, he's
really weird.
No, he quotes the same thing he heard his mom say in a dream.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because he does have a dream at one time.
Mahito, save me.
He keeps having this dream of seeing his mother in the flames, and
She says,
and
"Save me."
telling her to save me,
Yeah.
and telling him it's okay, things like that.
The best part here is the heron is in the window and he says this, and then the heron turns around and flies off. And I said, man, the heron just. It'd have been funny if the heron would have just shit in there. And as it flies away, there's bird shit dripping
Bird
down
shit
the wall.
everywhere.
There is
There is so much bird shit.
There
in
is
this
more
movie.
bird shit in this movie than any other movie with birds in it. Like, it's seriously.
That includes the Alfred Hitchcock classic North by Northwest.
Yes. Yeah.
We had
As everybody
inadvertently,
knows.
a couple of us, me and Holder, have inadvertently at least once or twice called something, and then it happened immediately
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah, there'd be several times where y'all would say something and I'd be like, hold on.
Calm bubbles. We'll get to it.
Yeah. But yeah, he's like, oh fuck this bird. And he like closes the window and he can't close it, and his stepmom comes in and they close the window.
Then he just sees the bird just like standing in the middle of this pond.
Yeah,
And what does he do? He says to say, "Fuck the bird." Grab like a big like wooden stick and just go.
it was like a
kendo
wooden
stick.
sword, like
Yeah.
like a wooden training sword.
Yeah, wooden training sword.
No, it was a kendo stick. More wrestling. More wrestling.
and he goes down and he like challenges the
Jason,
bird.
this is the reason why you're here tonight. There's like subtle wrestling references throughout all this.
He challenges the bird,
We
and the
watched a
bird
movie
comes.
with Dave Bautista in it.
Yeah.
Shut up. You spoiled everything.
The boy and the heron in the steel chair.
Yeah.
And the bird and the heron like flies down, and he tries to hit him with it, but he like catches it in his beak and breaks it off.
well, yeah, I mean, when he challenges him, he's like, "Go ahead, but if you miss, I get to kill you."
No, that's
Or-
later.
later.
That's
Oh,
later.
that's later.
That's the arrow.
Yeah,
When he squared up on this heron, it was like this is a Randy Johnson moment.
yeah.
And nope.
No. So the heron like starts again. He's like telling him like, "Hey, your presence is requested."
The frogs, man.
And then
Yep,
like you
yep,
are
favorite
you-
part of the movie.
The one who was told to that he would come, the one who was foretold. You have to come with us.
Your presence is
come with
requested.
us. And then like a chorus of fish jump out of the water and start singing, "You have to come." And then these frogs and toads start climbing up his body, and they're all singing like, "Hey, you have to come." you
Very
have to come."
fluid,
At-
like water. They engulf
Yeah.
his entire body.
At this point, I lose my mind.
Yeah.
The fish alone, I'm like, okay, I don't know what's
At this
happening
point,
anymore.
I think I'm watching Videodrome.
And at this point, I say, "Wait, it gets weirder."
Brady said that several times, and he wasn't wrong.
I was never wrong. I was never ever wrong.
Mahito's in like a dead stare because he doesn't know how to
Yeah,
process
he's
this.
comatose.
He's about to get fucked.
Yeah.
Yes.
The stepmom comes out and shoots this weird arrow up into the air, and it lands like right in front of the heron, and the heron freaks out, and then all the fish freak out, and then all the toads freak out and run away.
Yeah. Stepmom accompanied by the goblin women
Yeah.
with brooms and rakes and shovels
Yeah.
and shit.
Maito passes out. Then he
As you would.
Then he wait. Yeah, if I had that many frogs crawling over me and fish were singing, I would also pass out. The heron had teeth, guys. The heron had fucking teeth. And a giant nose.
popping out of its beak.
The biggest nose in all of anime. I swear
it's
to
pretty
God.
huge.
He wakes up and then
He's told that his stepmom has gotten ill.
yeah, she's not feeling well.
Who knows how long this dude was out?
Yeah.
She's got morning sickness or something.
One of the old women comes in and is like starts doting over him. And he immediately like gets up and like runs to the closet where he got the wooden training sword. And he picks it up and then it crumbles into to pieces exactly like it crumbled, like it was broken into pieces with the heron.
And then she's like, "Oh, strange things happen all the time."
Yeah, weird shit happens around
This
here.
is normal.
They eventually, for some reason, he has to go outside. I can't remember. It's hard to remember everything that happens in this movie because so much fucking happens.
Yeah.
Well, he goes and talks to he's told that his stepmom wants to see him.
Yeah.
So he goes in there to talk to her, and she says, "I'm so sorry I couldn't protect you, blah blah blah." And he says, "No, you work on getting better." And then he goes outside.
Yeah.
And then he
Oh, he
also
steals cigarettes.
he steals-
and then goes
he
out.
steals
steals
cigarettes.
cigarettes. And then in the hallway, he pulls a knife on the heron in the window, and the
Yeah.
heron flies off,
And we see his knife is like very dull and everything.
which leads him outside where he gave the groundskeeper the cigarettes.
Yeah.
in exchange for him borrowing his whetstone
Yeah,
to
borrowing
sharpen
his
the
whetstone
knife.
to sharpen the
Yes.
knife. There's also sometime before this, he's outside and he makes his way to this tower where
This is where
it's all closed up. It's all closed up, and then he like climbs through as best as he can. And he sees some like stairs going up, but he can't make it all the way through. And then the old ladies find him and it's like, hey, you have to come back. The mistress is looking for you. And while he's coming back in, she's like, oh, I hope he doesn't get, one of the women's like,
doesn't get
I hope he
taken.
doesn't get taken. Foreshadowing.
And as he's going, he's also picking up feathers that are
Yeah,
falling
he's
off
following
of
the feathers
Yeah.
of the heron. But then, like later on, then he goes to the guy with the whetstone. He sees this other old biddy, and she's mad because he gave cigarettes to the old guy, and she wants some cigarettes because it's really hard to get tobacco.
Well, she tells him, "Come over here. I can help you. I've got
Yeah.
a bow and arrow you can use."
Well, after this, he starts making a bow and arrow. Like he gets a nail and makes an arrow, and
Yeah.
it's not working. Like it doesn't fly very
And
straight.
that's when the old lady's like, "Hey, come over here. I can give you a real one of those.
Yeah.
But you got to give me cigarettes."
Yeah.
He's like, "I gave them all to him. You gave them all to him."
There's
Yeah.
only two.
There
in
were
the
There's
lab.
only two
Yeah.
left. It doesn't matter. But then he finds a heron feather, another heron feather, and he splits it to make fletching for the arrow. And he tries it out in his room, and the arrow like leaps out of the bow and like goes into the wall. Also foreshadowing. And that's when he hears that his stepmother has gone missing.
which is kind of weird.
Because earlier, as he was building the bow and arrow, he sees her like go into the woods, and he's just like, not my fucking problem.
Before this, he knocks over some books in his room.
This is important.
While he's messing with his new bow and arrow.
Yeah.
As he's picking it up, he sees like a dedication page to a book that
Yeah.
mentions the future Mahito.
to the older Mahito from
Right.
his mother.
Yes.
And the book's name is How Do You Live? So he looks at that book for a little while.
Which didn't you say is the name of this movie?
That is the
in
name of this movie in Japan.
Yeah, he weeps into the book.
Yeah, he starts reading it and crying, and then that's when he hears that his stepmother is missing, and he's going,
yeah.
"Oh, I saw her go into the woods."
And the goblins are like, "Hey, why would she do that?"
Yeah, she wouldn't do that.
She's ill. Why would she do this? That's how they talk.
Yeah, I think before this, one of them also mentions that his great uncle built the tower that he was in. So yeah,
The dad asked about it.
yeah, there's a scene where the dad like asks the old women about it, and they tell him like, "Hey, he built this tower." I think that explanation is a little bit later. Again, it's really hard to remember everything that happens in this
It's
movie.
there's so much.
He goes looking for it. One of the old ladies, the old lady who wanted the cigarettes, she comes with him, and then they get to they follow tracks down this into the woods, and they find this path, and the path takes them to the tower, which now has this big gigantic opening with like books all down
The
it
whole
and
time
everything.
she's like, "Can we go back?"
Yeah,
I don't
she
wanna...
is just like, "Please, God, let's go back. Let's go back." And they finally get to this place, and she like grabs onto his leg and is like, "No, you can't come. You can't go. This is a bad idea. Don't go."
Which during this, she also kind of like gives a little information where
Yeah.
it's like he's hearing the heron speak to him.
Yeah,
Where
the heron is telling him, "You're welcome here. Enter."
Yes. The boy tells the goblin maid to say like the voice is telling me that I am safe to enter.
Yeah,
She says that because of his special lineage, he is the only one that's able to hear.
Yeah.
So his family has some type of like some speciality to
yeah.
it.
Their bloodline has some connection to this. There's also a Latin phrase that's on top of the arch. That I don't know what it said, and I never saw what it actually meant, so it might not have meant anything. But he goes in, and the old lady's like, "Hey, this is a fucking trap." And guess what? It's a trap because they walk in, and then a giant wall closes behind them, and then the heron pops out of a fucking fresco in the weirdest way possible.
Yeah, I freaked out when that happened.
The heron doesn't do anything that is not in the weirdest way possible.
I got the translated
Okay.
phrase. I was made by divine power.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah,
I could attempt to say the phrase.
it was like est something.
Facimi la divina poteste.
Okay. All
I
right.
think that's the out of the page of the Necronomicon Ex Mortis.
Probably. So the heron is like, hey, come with. Oh, the heron also told him that his mother was still alive and he could take her to
yes.
he could take her to him. So that's why Mahito is like actually going in. Like he's like, hey, I kind of want to bring back my stepmother, but I really want to see my mother. He may be lying, but I really need to check on this. So he's like, hey, yeah, I'll take you to your mother. Come on this way. And they follow him into this big open area. The fucking heron lands by this this lounge chair and takes a bow and says, here's your mother. He sees a woman laying there.
Yeah, immediately looks completely off.
Yeah. You're like, oh, this is a bad, because the old lady's like, hey, this is a trap, and he's like, yeah, I know this is a trap. I'm still gonna do all this shit. And he goes up to her, and he's like, oh, it does look like my mother. And then he touches her, and then she dissolves into goo, because it's not a Ghibli movie without goo.
Or melting.
Yeah.
And the heron's like, bro, why'd you touch her?
Yeah.
Like, come on, that was the best one I made.
Yeah. Then she
It could have
melted.
lasted for days.
Yeah.
But you touched her. Avenge me, Harry.
And
No.
then Mahito with his bow and arrow draws on him, and the heron's like, "Hey, okay, you got one hit. Shoot me. My heart's right here. But if you don't kill me, I'm gonna rip your heart out."
Goading him into attacking.
Yeah, and he fires the arrow, and the
And it
arrow misses.
misses.
But
It's a homing arrow.
But it's a homing arrow because it has one of his feathers.
The heron goes like, "Ha! Oh no!"
Yeah,
just
he-
like
He
flies
doesn't
away.
say "oh shit," but it's an "oh shit"
And
moment.
it's basically oh shit because he flies around and it eventually hits him in the top beak. And puts a-
Miyazaki wrote it as shit. And then Suzuki's like, Hayao! No!
no,
Bad Hayao!
we get one. It's PG-13.
It's PG-13. They could have.
we get more than one shit.
Yeah.
This is PG-13. There could have potentially been a fuck in this
That's
movie.
true.
Yeah, one fuck.
One single fuck. The heron would have definitely said it.
Oh yeah.
At the very end, just, oh, fuck.
Or the pelican that was Willem Dafoe. That
Yeah.
one. That's one. It's one of those two would have definitely
Yeah.
said fuck.
Jody, were you waiting for the pelican to speak in fake Dutch?
yes.
Okay, there we go.
So
Michael Cimino told me. Never mind.
So it hits him into the top of the beak, and then he starts turning into the head pops out of the heron mouth, big gigantic nose, bald head, stumpy. His arms, his wings become just stumpy little arms that he tries to fly with, and
But
he
he
can't
still has
fly.
bird legs,
He still
though.
has bird legs, and he's still like a blue heron body.
If anyone is a gremlin, it
Yeah.
is this human heron bird.
He starts
mutants.
freaking out because he sees the arrow, and he's like, "Oh, you got my number 7 flight
feather.
and
My weakness.
my weakness."
My weakness. My own feather. Is
And then
my
later
weakness.
he goes, "Well, how did you know that was my weakness?" And he was like, "You just
You
said
just
it."
told me. Yeah.
Mahito like pulls the arrow out and then holds it on him, and he's like protesting. And then this figure way up above in the tower says, "Hey, shut the fuck up, Heron. You're gonna lead him to where he wants to go. Take him."
You be his guide.
Beat his guy, and he's like, "Ah, shit. Okay." And then they start sinking through the floor, all 3 of them.
The maid is still with them.
Yeah, the old
And
lady.
she's like, no. And she starts like running through quicksand.
She's like, "Hey, you don't need me
She's
for
like,
this."
You don't need me. I'm fucking out of here.
Mahito starts falling through the sky. Nobody else is around him. He lands on this beach. He sees this line of ships just going through in the water.
There's like caravan of ships. And
Yeah, there's no airships and there's no real fly. There's not much flying in this besides like the birds. There's no like planes or anything or like they're usually in like Miyazaki movies, but there's a lot of ships.
We are literally moving through metaphor and different concepts of reality.
Yeah. He turns around and on this island there's a big ornamental gate with a stone wall.
like a 2.5 foot wall.
Yeah, and he sees beyond it there's like this tomb looking area. So he starts walking towards it, and then behind him, unbeknownst to him, some pelicans just appear, and they're really weird because birds in this are really fucking weird.
Above this gate is also like a phrase, and I think he says like for those that wish to learn my knowledge shall certainly die.
Yeah, something like that.
And then the pelicans just go ape shit.
The pelicans go ape shit, and they push him through the gate, and they're all like talking and being weird,
trying to eat him. I think,
and they're kind of.
I think they're dragging him towards the entrance to where like they think that he'll die.
Yeah. Fuck if I know. Then
I had the notion that the pelicans represented the fanatical fans of Studio Ghibli that are constantly pulling at
That is
Hayao
definitely
Miyazaki towards basically his death, which will be like just keep making these things for us, keep making them, please, please,
continue existing.
Yeah.
Yes, we need you to die, but on our terms, not yours.
But yeah, I think there might be some weight with that. I also think that Miyazaki is also the main one who's making sure that he continues to work. But yeah, then this like pirate looking lady comes up.
Fisherwoman.
She's like a fisherwoman.
Didn't know it was a lady at first.
She's in this sailboat, and she's like, oh shit, the pelicans got past the gate. And she comes out and has this fire whip
wand.
rod thing that shoots fire out of it, and just starts whipping the shit out of the pelicans and putting fire everywhere. So if you want to get rid of birds, people just set them on fire. That's how that works.
She's like, why did you go through the gate? And
Yeah,
he's
she's
like, I
kinda-
got pushed through by the pelicans.
It wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
Got a Snitsky reference there. You didn't think I'd get that, huh?
Another one.
Don't kick the baby.
So Jesus, she like is berating him as like, and just tells him like, hey, come on, you're gonna help me do some shit. And he's like, well, okay. The wind starts picking up, and she's like, oh, the wind's picking up, so that means the tides are picking up, so we gotta go fish. And then he almost drowns getting her boat away. She has to like reach in and like pull him up, and he's like, water is just coming out of
Then she
everywhere.
immediately starts giving him orders. Like,
Yeah.
get over there and do this.
Yeah, she starts giving him shit. They go over this giant wave. Like, I don't even understand. Like, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't know how to fucking do boats. Like, what the fuck? But they get over this giant wave, and then they catch this humongous fucking fish that looks like a primordial like thing.
It's got like 8 fins.
Yeah, it's got like 8 fins. It's like soup. It's like so fucking big. It's like bigger. It's bigger than the boat, really. And they start hauling it in. They see these. They start going towards what you feel like is kind of her home, and it's like this giant boat that's kind of like sunk into the land, and it's got trees and stuff all over it.
Like these ghost dudes pull up beside him, and he's like, "Who are those?" And she's like, "Oh, those are dead people.
Yeah,
they can't kill anything. That's why we have to do this."
yeah. It's my job to like make sure that they have that they have food.
Yeah, and just like in any other Ghibli movie, they're cute. They're cute little spirits.
Yeah. Well, there's like humanoid.
The dead
spirits.
guys are humanoid. The cum sprites,
Yeah.
on the other hand,
the wada wada, which are like marshmallow, like all little cute, happy little spirits.
Imagine the tiny little Stay Puft Marshmallow Men, but
Yeah.
more spherical.
Yeah,
They're very Kirby-like.
yeah,
But white.
they're squishmallows.
Squishmallows.
Yeah.
For all you youngins who are listening to this, so they haul the fish up, and she starts like cutting into the fish, and then she makes him cut into the fish, and he doesn't do so well because like halfway through, like half the blood of this fish like squirts into his face.
Do you remember the scene in Akira where Tetsuo explodes into a mass of intestines and guts?
Yeah.
That's what happens in this movie.
He cuts into the guts, and like they explode all over the place, and they like overflow onto him.
and the best part of it is like while all this is happening, and he's being drowned in guts. She's like, "Don't fuck up the guts. They need that."
The Wada Wada need that.
They needed to fly.
There were like 400 guts.
Yeah.
there
There's
was
a lot
so
of-
many
there was a
guts.
lot of
there was a
guts.
lot of guts. This is one of the grosser Ghibli movies.
I'd like to also point out, I had stepped away from the table. If so, this was mentioned, I apologize. Florence Pugh voices this
yeah.
character. And I think it's that was the one that caught me off guard because I thought it was Michelle Williams, like
Oh, yeah.
completely for it. And then I was like, wait a minute, it isn't. So I looked at, it's like fantastic, subtle, and surreptitious voice acting throughout
Yeah,
this
the
entire
voice
movie.
acting in this one is very, very good. So yeah, then they go like into they cut layer to into the lady's house, and I think he's like he like passes out or something. He wakes up
He's asleep
Yeah.
under the table.
He's asleep
Yeah,
under the
he's asleep
table.
under the table.
And you see these little
Wooden
like
figures
wooden figures who
representing
all
the
look like
ladies.
the old women.
Yeah.
And that's kind of our first hint of who this person is. He starts kind of talking to her, and he actually says like, "Hey, this is." He calls her by her name. She's like, "How did you know my name?" And it's like, "Well, you've got all these figures, and they look like you, and you're the one who came with me." So yeah,
This is Kiriko.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Hey, you got a bathroom?"
She's like, yeah, outside in the back.
Yeah. So he goes to the outhouse, and then the moon starts shining through. So he forgets that he has to poop or whatever.
No, he was sitting in there.
Yeah.
Dropping a rock. And, like, the moon cut through, and he's like, "Let me go look at the moon."
Yeah, let me pinch
It
this
was a
off
very
and go
pretty
look.
moon.
It was a
Holy
very
shit, it's
pretty
the moon.
So he sees the moon, and then like the little spirits, the Wada Wada, like come up and start like expanding and
Like
then floating up,
self-ballooning.
and then like floating up. And he and Kiriko comes out, and he's like, "What the fuck are these things?" He's like, "Oh, they're spirits that and they're going up there, and they haven't been born yet." So yeah, there's dead people here, and there's also like pre-born people here.
Cum bubbles.
Yeah. So yeah, when they called them cum spirits, they were literally right about that.
They're like floating up in like a
spiral. And then
the pelicans
And then the
attack.
pelicans.
I said,
attack.
wouldn't it be crazy if something came along and ate these cum bubbles?
Yeah.
And they started guzzling
And
them
then
like
the puz-
whores.
and then the puzzle.
Fire Nation attack.
And then the Fire Nation attacked.
It's just a lot of Pac-Man just going through the line.
They're like, oh my god, they're gonna eat all the Wada Wada, and then all of a sudden, this firework comes up and like starts burning everything. Fucking Wada Wada, pelicans don't give a fuck.
Everything burns.
And there's this girl on a boat, and she is like putting her hands together and like shooting fire up into the air. And he's like, "Hold on, wait! You're killing all the Wada Wada."
She don't even give.
She don't give
a
two.
fuck.
She don't give two fucks. And eventually, like it scatters all of the pelicans, and they fly away. And Kiriko's like, "Haha, that'll show them. They're not gonna do that for a while." And then some of the Wada Wada still start floating up. And then it gets to they go in and go to sleep.
No, after that, like Kiriko goes back inside, and he's still outside.
Yeah.
And the pelican.
Oh no, that's in the morning. It's in the morning. It's in
Is
the
it in the
daytime
morning?
when they say that. They go to sleep and they wake up. Nothing really of consequence happens there, but then he goes back outside and he sees a pelican leaning up against the outhouse. And this pelican is fucked up.
And the first thing the pelican does is look at him and go, "Put me out of my misery."
Yeah, because he comes out with a shovel that he's gonna hit him in the head with.
And so he starts talking with the pelican, and the pelican says, "Look, we didn't want to be here.
We were brought here by
We
the
were
master.
Brought here by the master. There's no fish in the sea for us
There's
to
no
eat.
food for us.
Yeah.
There's no food, so we have to basically do what we can to survive."
Yeah, he was like the younger pelicans are forgetting how to fly. That's how
Yeah.
bad they're off
And
they
then
are.
he and
Yeah,
falls
then
over
he dies.
dead.
Willem Dafoe, everyone.
And then the Heron shows up and gives his makes the sign of the cross and is like gives him his last rites and
And then Mahito buries the pelican.
Yeah.
Like goes inside because he comes outside with like a hoe.
yeah.
Because he goes back inside and comes back with a shovel. And you see him digging a hole with the pelican laying beside him. And I think at that point, that's where the Heron kind of starts to change a little.
Yeah,
I think because he's like, okay, I mean,
Well-
he's burying one of ours.
Yeah.
Because the heroine, the Heron has been kind of antagonistic
Yeah.
Like I don't
Heron's
want
a
to
little
follow
shit
you.
in like the first half of
Yeah,
Yes.
and a little bit later, he makes a comment. He's like, "We're not friends."
Yeah.
You know,
We're not allies.
we're not
Yeah.
allies. But at this point, I think it's where it's beginning that shift more towards, okay, maybe this kid isn't just a piece of shit kid.
Yeah.
It might be worth it.
And
to
it
do
also
something.
helped. Kiriko also comes out and gives him shit and is like, "Hey, remember the master told you that you had to be his guy."
Right.
So yeah. So they basically end up like Kiriko tells him like, "Hey, you need to take him to get his stepmom." And she, they take off without her because she's like, "Hey, I have to stay behind for the Wada Wada."
And then it's like at this point where Mahito kind of like makes this like makeshift plug for his beat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The heron is bitching and moaning about
hole
I
in
can't
his
fly. There's a hole in my beak, so I
Yeah.
can't turn back into a full heron. And he's like, I can't just. And Mahito's like, why can't you plug it? And he's like, well, I can't plug it.
You're the one that put it there.
because the person who put the hole there has
Yeah.
to be the one that plugs it. So he
Right.
makes him a little plug, and then plugs it up. And there's this funny little thing where he's telling him like, hey, watch it, don't shave that part off. That's gonna hurt, And then they put it in, and then he immediately turns back into a heron.
Yeah, he swallows his head, a
He
human
swallows
head.
his human head, and then immediately starts shit talking. He's like, me and you, we're not friends, we're not
not
allies.
yeah.
And then he starts going, and
Yeah.
then he's like, what the fuck? He's like, oh, the part right here, it's sticking out. So they have to, so they cut back to him like trimming it down
Right.
again. And then I guess that was enough for them to be friends because then they
Right.
come to a like this little
cottage, little
this
cottage.
cottage.
Yeah.
And Heron's like, hey, we got to get past there to get to the tower. But there are parakeets there and they eat people.
Yeah.
He's like, they'll eat an elephant if it's there.
Right. So the heron causes a distraction.
Well, you're thinking like, oh, they're parakeets. They're like, look, no,
Yeah,
these are like
small,
big,
like
muscular,
I can fit-
giant,
buff parakeets.
buff parakeets who are very unsettling.
He's just like, yeah, that's the blacksmith place. And he's like, maybe the blacksmith's there. And the heron's like, parakeets have eaten him.
Yeah.
Parakeet is a blacksmith.
So
So-
they come up with this.
Distraction playing.
The heron's like, hey, I'm going to distract him. And then you can go through, all right? So the heron jumps up, yells like, hey, fuck you, birds. Takes
Well, he
off
starts
running.
pretending that like he's hurt. And then they all run out like, oh. The parakeets are very stupid in this.
He takes off running.
And then they're like, oh, okay, they're distracted. He runs up and like opens up the door and then immediately gets surrounded by parakeets. So that shit didn't work.
Parakeets
Big-
with like forks and butcher's cleavers.
Well,
Fucking huge.
the only thing they all have plates in their hands, and one that's they're all green except for one that's pink. And he goes, "Oh, we've been waiting for you. Come here."
Right.
And they all start leading him to this table, and behind their backs they all have forks and butcher's knives and
Yes, your stepmother is right over here.
And then they get to this table, and he's like, "Oh, you guys are all gonna eat me, aren't you?" And they're like, "Yes,
Yeah.
we are."
Yes, we are.
And then the table starts setting on fire, and then this and starts burning all the parakeets. So again, if you want to get rid of the birds, you just got to burn the shit out of them. And then we meet the fire princess,
Himi.
Himi, and she says like, "Oh, you're kind of dumb because you almost got ate, or you're very brave, one or the other." And he's like, "Yeah. Hey, I'm trying to get to this for my stepmom." He tells her his name, Rukia, I think, or something like that. I could be wrong. But
Don't remember.
she's like, "Oh,
Natsuko.
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 I was way off. Jesus.
Voiced by Gemma Chen.
Yeah. And she was like, "Oh, that's my sister." Okay. And she pulls him through the fire, and they come into her house, which is right next to the tower. And she tells them like, "Hey, okay, we're gonna sneak in, because it's filled with parakeets. The entire tower is just lousy with parakeets. Parakeets everywhere. They have industry in this place. Like it's ridiculous.
All the parakeets.
They have to sneak in through this back way, and then they come to this room that's full of doors, and all the doors are numbered, but they're all in like non-sequential
Yeah,
numbers.
they're not. Yeah.
And she comes to this one door, is like, and slides it open. Is like, "Hey, if you want to go home, you just go through there. And he goes through because
has like a little like sliding view door.
We had cut back previously to see that his dad
and the six other
women. This is when he learns about the kind of, there was this he learns the backstory of the tower. There was this meteor that fell like in the Meiji era, and the great uncle built a tower over this, and like a lot of people died in making it and everything, and weird things have happened, and he disappeared a long time ago. And they even say what's her name, his mother, his real mother, she disappeared for like a year and then came back and had no memory of anything,
right, but was really happy about it.
Yeah, but she was really happy. And he goes, okay, well, I'm going to go to this. And so he gets a sword. The dad gets the sword. He packs up all this bullshit. And then he's like, hey, we're going to go to this fucking tower and I'm going to get my kid and my wife back.
Which the sword makes sense because of the wooden practice sword that Mahito used earlier.
And as they look through the thing, they see that it's actually they see his dad coming up. But then what they have to do, they see these parakeet patrols coming from either side. So the girl's like, hey, open the door and we gotta go through.
But don't let go of the handle.
Don't let go of the handle. So they go back through. So they go on the other side of it, and they have to hold on to it, because if they let go, like she tells them, like, hey, if you want to go back, you just gotta let go, and that's it. And he's like, no, I gotta,
because you'll never be able to find it again.
You'll never be able to find it again. And he's like, well, I can't leave my stepmom.
And you could see, like, with them in like actual reality, that their hands are missing.
Yeah,
because it's holding into another space of time and space.
And he's like, oh shit, I gotta go back. And he opens up the door, and then like, oh, there's the parakeets, and they all start coming through.
Before he opens the door, though, his dad sees him.
Yeah.
Starts running towards him.
Mahito. And he starts running that way. They open the door to go back in. Then the parakeets come like barreling out.
Yeah.
But as they come out, they turn back into regular parakeets.
Yeah.
And his dad's like, oh my God, my son's turned into a parakeet.
Well, the dad, like, he sees these monsters, he's like, let go of him, and he's just like accepting, oh, there's giant monster boards.
Like,
and then they shit all over him.
What a visual for these giant, muscle-bound, buff-ass fucking parakeets that turn into regular-looking birds when they fly through the door.
And then they just fly over him and shit all over him.
I need you to say that again.
Giant, muscle-bound parakeets.
There you go. Thank you.
And he's just like, what the fuck was that? And he's got bird shit all over him. Again,
of course,
everybody gets shit on them so much.
If there's a bird, there is shit somewhere in here.
They go back in and they're like, no, I got to go see. I got to go to my stepmom, and she's like, okay, well, I'll take her. She's way down in the birthing chamber. So they take her. So he takes them down there. They got to sneak through. We see the entire civilization of parakeets that are in this.
There's
this
a lot
tower.
of them.
There are so many fucking parakeets that have to sneak through. They finally get to the bottom, and she tells them like, oh, well, there's a part where like he touches the side of the wall, and she's like, hey, don't touch the side of the wall because it shocks the shit out of him.
After he shocks the shit out of himself.
And they've been walking for like an hour.
Yeah.
Right.
When they get down to the area, it's like covered with like really ornate curtains. And she tells them like, hey, the stone doesn't want us here, because they all start like they're sparking.
Right.
And he's like, well, I gotta go see her. So he goes inside, and it looks very much like the tomb from earlier. This is actually really a tomb. And there are these like paper like
paper strands almost.
Paper strands on this like spinning thing above her.
It's like a carousel.
Like carousel,
and these are
mobile.
I think these are supposed to be like warding off like bad things from this area.
I immediately had a bad feeling about seeing those things hanging from the canopy.
And you should, because he goes up to her and is like, hey, we got to go. We really need to go. It's really important. And the paper thing starts spinning faster and faster, and they start coming loose and hitting him. When they hit him and he pulls them off, like there's marks. and they start spinning. This is where this is a part that also gets like really, really abstract, and they start like clumping on him, and he's like pulling them off, and he's like, "Hey, we gotta go." And she's like, I don't want anything to do with you. I hate you. Go away.
And he freaks out for a second.
And then he calls her mom. He's like, "Mother, we gotta go." And then she like kind of snaps out of it and is like, "Oh shit!" And then they're both start getting covered by these things.
The animation in this sequence is
amazing.
amazing.
is amazing because they like start like coming together and they'll like make mouths on one end and
It
like
looks
these
like
like
they're
dragon.
chewing. It looks like they're chewing
like
on
they're
them.
chewing on him. He's like pulling them off and they're all making these marks on him. And it's really really crazy. And it looks like they're about to both be overtaken. And then
Himi to the rescue.
yeah, she comes and like she like burns all of them. And then like he passes, Mahito passes out, and she's like, "Hey, master of the tower, please grant me this one wish. Please let this boy and his stepmom leave. Let them go, please." And the stepmom starts to wake up. She's passed out as well. And she gets up, and then what the fuck?
He's
happens?
shackled. He wakes up shackled, right? Or am I?
They all get
After she starts getting up, he ends up walking through a corridor.
well. No,
Where he goes and meets.
they get knocked out. They all get knocked out again for some reason. I can't remember exactly what happened.
While they're out is when he meets the grand uncle first.
Yeah.
Because he goes in and the grand uncle's telling him, hey,
He meets this weird portal.
Yeah.
he goes through.
He goes through it and he's like, hey, you have to, you're here to take my place.
Yeah.
I need you to take one of these stones. And
Yeah. Well, before that, all he tells him is he's got this tower of blocks, and they're all different. Like they're circles, and they're cylinders, and they're triangles. And he's built it, and he taps it, and he was like, "Okay, the world gets to exist another day."
Yeah.
And then he starts telling him like, "Hey, I want you to be my successor." And then he kind of and that's when he kind of wakes up.
Well, he tells him, take one of these 3 stones. And Mahito goes, "Those are all gravestones."
Oh, yeah.
And the grand uncle says, "That's why I chose you, because you're smart." Then he wakes up
Yeah.
shackled against a wall.
Yeah. And then
Which,
we
by
see
the way, granduncle voiced by Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Which I think, Jason, you made the mention about Iro, about the mention of Avatar. It's like, close. Firelord Ozai is in this movie.
Yeah. Well, Mark Hamill plays 3 roles. This is his 3rd time he's been in a Ghibli movie. Yeah. He was also the main bad guy in Castle in the Sky, and he was the mayor of Pedjite in Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind. Yeah. So yeah, he wakes up, and there's a parakeet sharpening a knife.
Yep.
A knife in front of him. Then the heron shows up, just knocks the parakeet out with a bone.
The heron shows up in the most comical costume.
Yeah.
He has like a Batman mask on with googly eyes off of the top of his head. And the parakeets are just like, "So
Yeah. Oh, that is definitely a parakeet.
that is definitely a parakeet. We will let him do whatever."
That looks like me.
And he walks by, smokes the dude with the knife, uses the bone to break the shackles.
Yeah.
Then
He tells Mahito to follow my lead.
Yeah.
And then takes out 2 more.
They take
the
out 2
exact
more
same
dudes, and then you
consecutively.
Yeah. Mahito pulls the Metal Gear Solid strategy of just putting on something.
yeah, he put
put on
a
a
cauldron
pot.
He
around.
put on a pot over his head, and they're just like sneaking through, and all the other parakeets are just like, because they're all really fucking dumb.
The mental capacity of these parakeets is astounding.
Yeah, it's
One gets knocked down, and then immediately one is walking quite literally over it.
yeah. They eventually get to where there is a procession going on.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and we see the parakeet king, and he has Himiko.
Himi.
Jesus Christ, I'm bad with this. I've written down Mahito, and I look at it every single time that I say his name. I should have written
That's
down.
because I
most
made
of-
the mojito accident, which I swore I wouldn't do.
Himi is in like a
She's like a glass casket.
Right.
And the
king.
the Heron explains that like, oh, they're probably going to take her to the master in order to get something because
Right.
y'all weren't supposed to go to the birthing room. She's not even supposed to be here. Y'all broke a lot of rules.
Right.
And he's going to use it to get what he wants. What we don't fucking know.
Yeah.
It's not. It's
We do know. He wants his rematch against Triple H.
give me what I want.
WrestleMania. Give me what I want.
I thought it was a reference to last week. No, they explained it exactly.
Yeah.
The parakeet.
Shut up!
The parakeet king has this really weird tribal tattoo around his belly button.
Yeah, it's really inconsequential, but there's a funny part where they're walking on these rafters with these like metal spines in them, and they knock one down, and it
knock
goes
two
like
down.
they knock one down, and like one of the birds looks up, and is like, huh, and then they knock another one down and knock him out, so none of the other birds see them.
No, I guess that's the way it's supposed to work then.
They're
It's
kind
my
of
unlucky day.
they're kind of sneaking in, and we find out that the Parakeet King is Dave Bautista, and looks like Dave Bautista. Like if Dave Bautista was a giant parakeet.
Yeah, that's what cracks me up, right? Because this character was drawn and designed before they knew that Batista was going to be the voice.
Yeah.
and
there's no possible way that
could
these
not
Japanese
have done
people-
a better
No,
job
no,
of making
No.
Parakeet Batista, Dave Parakitista, if you will.
Yeah.
No. Hayao Miyazaki said he was like, Toshio, who's that? That's Dave Bautista. He's a wrestler.
He's
I
like-
must make him a parakeet.
Yes.
He goes, I want Dave.
Yeah. So yeah, he like screams some shit. It's like, hey, I'm gonna get some good stuff for us, and all the parakeets are like, yeah, go ahead. And they start climbing up these like it's like a bell tower almost, where they've got the wooden steps all the way up. Mahito starts trying to follow Mahito, and the Heron starts trying to follow him, and but the one brain cell of the parakeets is in the Parakeet King, and he when he gets to the top just slashes the steps and makes them all fall because he's super strong because he's Dave Bautista, and he just knocks everything down. So they all fall down. The Parakeet King, they start him and the people, the parakeets that are with him with the blast coffin, like go through the thing, and they meet with the guy with the master, and he's like, oh yeah, I knew you'd come. Parakeet King, I knew you'd come.
I know. That was flashing in my head. I'm like, oh man, did we accidentally get in the broken universe?
How many wrestling
Terms.
How many wrestling things can we shove into this episode?
A lot.
And he's like, hey, let's take a walk. And then he's like, yeah, I know they fucked up. They broke the rules. It's okay. Maito's a good boy. He won't do it again. I promise. The king's like, no, they did it. I'm the king. Like, rules have to be followed. That's the whole reason why we do this. Shut the fuck up. And he's like, no. Just leave her. Leave the girl here and just go on back, and everything will be cool. Just tranquilo. Now I'm trying to do it. So he goes off, and he's like, we're not gonna leave. We're gonna fuck this kid up when we see him. I can beat up a child. I've done it before. So he wakes up the master wakes up the girl, and she's like all apologetic, and she's like hugging him because this is her great uncle. Then Mahito, we cut, and like Mahito and the Heron survived the crashing down, and luckily, because dream logic is how this place works, the entrance is now wherever they're at, and they just walk through and go to the master. And then we see that the Parakeet King is also hiding behind a column. You're asking, how does he do this? He rolled really good on a stealth check because he shouldn't be able to do that. This is a giant, like 10-foot bird that nobody sees coming. He constantly sneaks behind them. They're walking through. And
These hallways, by the way, and these entrances to other portals of existence are very Lovecraftian at times in the cosmic area.
This part kind of gets Lovecraftian.
They made a reference to Drax, also played by Dave Bautista. He stood so still, he was practically invisible.
Yeah.
Yes.
He had that ability. So they're walking through. The Heron's freaking out and is like, "Hey, this is not cool." And somehow still doesn't see the giant white bird behind him. They make it all the way to the master. He is now, and he had showed Mahito this. He had showed Mahito the meteor that had fallen. It's like this giant floating rock.
Looks like an almond.
Looks like an almond, and he's got a table now in this like field where the thing is where the meteor is floating.
And it has this like Jenga-esque tower.
Well,
not yet.
his
not
tower
yet.
is
His tower still stood up.
is stood up in the other in like the other area. This one just has pieces down here, and he's like, okay,
Because that's where he explains
Yeah.
to Mahito, hey, this is what the rock is. This is why we're special.
Yeah.
I need you to take over for me because every 3 days this tower has to be rebuilt.
yeah.
These are your pieces. You can build whatever world you want to build.
Yeah.
You can make it a perfect paradise. You can get rid of malice. Blah
Yeah.
blah blah. All this kind
And
of
he
stuff.
had met back up with Himi there, and
Yeah.
while they were climbing up the hill to go see the master, he had picked up one of the gravestones, because there had been some scattered around.
Yeah, because when he picked it up, she goes, "Don't touch those things; they'll break."
Yeah. He was like, oh. But Mahito like looks at his scar and is like, hey, I gave myself this scar because of my malice, and because of that, I don't want to do this. And he's like, what the fuck? I'm letting you create your own world, and you don't want to. And you
Get to be God.
get to be God, and like you're okay.
I'm
okay.
giving you the pieces to building a world.
Okay. You can leave. Just for God's sakes, build the blocks. Just build a tower real quick, and then you can go. I swear to God, I promise.
And then Parrot King just sidesteps and goes, "How dare you!"
This is my
We
responsibility.
do all of this world is just because of some stupid blocks. Fuck this. I can build these blocks. And he like picks them up and like builds them really quick.
And probably in the most comedic part,
He
in
puts
the-
a sphere on top of cone, a cone on top of sphere, and a large block on top of the cone. This shit's falling, ladies
And he
gentlemen.
goes to put one more on, and he's like sweating and snot's running down.
Wait. The last piece is a triangle.
Yeah.
How does he do it? Upside down.
Yeah.
He puts,
He goes and puts it on. He's clearly not done Jenga. Like he's just bad at it.
Cell has gone.
Yeah. The brain cell's in another parakeet right now. And he goes and he puts it.
Oh, is the Parakeet King Goro?
oh man, yikes!
Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Out of frustration, he just cuts it in half with his
Yeah,
sword.
he's just like, fuck this shit. And he cuts it in
That
half
is
with
the
sword.
funniest moment in the movie for me.
And then
that whole scene,
And then the world starts collapsing.
everything's falling apart.
The giant meteor turns into goo because again we have to have goo.
Goo, yeah.
it's a Miyazaki movie.
It turns the parakeet king into a regular ass parakeet. The master starts fading. He's like, hey, you got to get out of here before all this shit goes sideways. Hurry up. So they start running out. Like reality starts falling.
They're taking off. They run through the original where the master met Mahito the first time.
Yeah.
And the table is collapsing. The tower that he had built is falling into space.
Yeah.
And Hime stops and like drops down on her knees, like, "Oh my god, it's all falling apart."
Oh my God,
As it's all
Grandpa.
falling apart.
Great uncle. Oh my God. She's like, what the fuck? Come
Mahito
on.
just grabs her and is like, "We gotta go."
We ain't got time for this shit.
Yeah, Heron shows up. It's like, get on my legs or whatever. Hold on to my legs.
He has to like fly them across.
Yeah.
Because like the ground has just fallen
He kind
away.
of drops down a little bit from the weight of him.
It's very funny because he like flaps his wings, but then he also has to do like this hummingbird thing when his wings go short. They finally make it to the room with all the doors.
the dimension doors.
And then we also see that his stepmom, she's out of the birthing area, and Kiriko has found her. So they also make their way to the doors. And then the parakeets are right behind him.
They get to these doors.
Yes.
Hime looks at Mahito and says, "You're my son. I love you. You have to go through this door. You have to become the person you're supposed to be. I want you to know that I'm proud of you. And he's like, no, Mom, you can come back with me. And she's like, no, because I have to go through my door so that this all happens.
Yeah.
And he's like, but if you go through that door, you're going to die in a fire. And she's like, but I have to. It's just what I have to do. And this should be like the most poignant moment of this movie. Like this should be that reveal. Hey, I know who you are. That's why we've been trying to do this. It's why I've been helping. This is just how life has to work. You know, I have to go to my time. You have to go back to yours. You have a mother. You know, this should be that tearjerker moment. And dear God, at how bad the dialogue is here. The rest of the movie has been fine. Like the way the lines are given, the way that it's written, it's been just fine.
Like, I feel that like Mahito's realization with Kiriko should have been this with his mom.
Yeah, this 2 minutes right here of this dialogue as they're about to run through their doors because the world that the granduncle created is collapsed. It doesn't exist anymore. This should have been that moment in the movie where everybody's crying. Because all of the Ghibli movies have that moment.
Yeah.
This should have been it. And instead I'm going, this was done by people that were looking at the page going, Mahito, my son, I am super proud of you. You have no idea. And then, thank you, Mother. You should come through this door with me because if you go through the other one, you will be dying fire.
I must do so or else this won't happen.
And yeah, it's unfortunate. It's 2 lines, and it's the English dub. Possibly go back and watch the Japanese dub because I've done that before with movies, and it might have been some sort of Japanese metaphor or some sort of like thing that just got lost in translation there.
To be honest, like this part always like hit me, and until you said something, I really didn't even notice it because it actually like worked its magic on me. But I can see, but now in hindsight, with you actually bringing it up, like it actually like it does. It wasn't the best line delivery, which usually is really good in Ghibli dubs. They usually go like above and beyond, and that's just
It was like, you'll die in fire, and she goes, that's okay. I'm not afraid of fire.
Yeah,
That was the line right there.
It's a little cheesy.
The scene itself was great.
Yeah.
You know,
Had emotional weight
the
to it.
emotional weight was there. It's just the way the lines were delivered. It's just like it completely took me out of what was supposed to be the impact.
Yeah. Like I said, it didn't do that to me, but but after you said it, like I kind of noticed it.
That's okay. The movie's only got 3 minutes left.
Yeah, we're almost done. So
They have
Mahito and his stepmom, they walk through their door, and Kiriko and Himi walk through their door.
Right.
And if nobody's picked up, this is where Himi was when she disappeared for that year.
Right.
And then we go through. The parakeets rush through, and then the pelicans come through, and they're all like, "Oh my god, this is so cool!" Covered in bird shit.
Yeah.
Like this was a purposefully done thing because this was also kind of a poignant moment where they're like, "Oh my god, the pelicans made it," and "Oh, this is so cool," and they're flying around, and like the stepmom is like, "Oh, you're so cute," and she's just got bird shit on her face, and I'm like, "Wow."
And King Parakeet is on her shoulder.
Yeah, King Parakeet just shows up, and he is just the most ostentatious parakeet that you've ever seen.
Was it right before this or right after this where the Heron looks at Mahito and says,
It's during this.
It's during this because he says something like,
because they like go to their own little world. They like go like the birds are all coming through, and the heron's right beside them, and they kind of go to their own other world. And he's like, "Hey,
what do you remember?
Do you remember any of this?" And he's like, "Of course I remember this." And he's like, "Oh, that's not good. You don't want to remember.
Did you bring something back?"
Yeah.
And he reaches into his pocket and pulls out the little wooden statuette of Kiriko and one of the stones. And the heron goes,
It was Kiriko's statuette, but it wasn't a statuette.
Yeah.
Well, it was.
She pops out of his pocket.
She pops out in just a second.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ethan. We kept interrupting you.
I think this is more so like an internal dialogue he has with himself.
There's a lot of like
it's-
dream
could
logic
be.
in this.
Because as soon as they're done with this this conversation, he like snaps out of this like dream reality.
Yeah, and the
space.
heron's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it could be because the Heron says something about the statuette, and he says that's a really powerful charm. And then the stone, he's like, well, that's useless now.
Yeah. And he's like,
You'll forget about this.
Don't
forget
worry
about
about
it
it. You'll forget
eventually.
all about this eventually.
And then she pops out of his pocket.
And
Pops out
And then Kiriko, the old lady, pops out of his pocket. And then the dad and all the old ladies with their brooms show up, and they all hug.
and cut the credits.
And then we cut to
No, not even cutting credits.
he's putting on his clothes, and he goes
2 years later.
2 years after
It's
the
been-
war, we went back to Tokyo, and he's getting dressed, and he comes downstairs, and his stepmom and his little brother, who is 2 years, really big 2-year-old, they're all ready, and that's it. He looks
Cut
at
to
them
credits.
and they cut the credits. We're in and out with this shit.
Microsoft blue screen and words.
Yeah.
I see Dave Bautista.
So that's the boy and the heron.
Dave Bautista got top billing in voice
This
acting.
yeah, he got like second billing.
Second billing.
Second
yeah.
billing.
Yeah, this is one of the most interesting, like less straightforward movies of Miyazaki's that I've ever seen.
I'm gonna have
that I
to
think
watch this multiple times.
Yeah, this begs multiple viewings to really like grasp everything. Like there's so many like heavy like metaphors on everything. Like we said, it's a pretty good guess that Goro is the parakeet king,
Right.
who wants to take over but doesn't have the ability to do it. It says a lot that this whole thing is rides on a master just saying, oh well, maybe it's best that we just destroy this world instead of keeping it going.
Right.
There's also there's an interpretation where the heron is Toshio Suzuki and the granduncle is Isao Takahata.
Yeah.
And it's about and that is less about like any kind of familial relationship. That was about the actual like business and creative relationships between them, with Toshio being part ally, but then also having to be convinced that this might work whenever we would try to do this thing, but ultimately ending up on his side. While Isao Takahata was like, when we talked about this a lot during the Kaguya episode, but also just Takahata really pulled Miyazaki more towards the stuff that I think was more in his wheelhouse and was actually what would have been, he would have been a shonen writer if not for Takahata. Or like a shonen mangaka, and he would have been, and I think he would have had the skill and ability to maybe have even supplanted not Tezuka, but Akira Toriyama. He would have had the Akira Toriyama position in the world. I think that's a kind of an interesting take on that, and where it's not just about family, but it's also about the people that were close to him in a business and creative sense. I think that was really good.
The design of all the characters and the animation was just like stellar in this.
Yeah.
I mean, you could put a stamp on Ghibli most of the time. Sometimes it varies, you know, the quality or whatever. You could tell they spent a lot of time on different sequences, much like in Kaguya when they had the movement, like in the early parts of this movie when he was running through the fire. It was so fantastical and amazing. And
again, this was a 7 years project.
Right. And you could tell they put a lot of time in it.
Yeah, definitely.
This was 7. Kaguya was 8 years. You can tell when you have masters at work and give them enough time. Also, again, I'd give credit to Takeshi Honda. This is the first time that Miyazaki really lets loose, and lets somebody else kind of control the animation on this. And I think he created a style that I think going forward will serve Ghibli well, while at the same time being very respectful of Miyazaki's art style.
Yeah. So as if this is like Miyazaki's like final film, I think this is a very good film to end on, being like super personal. I'm kind of glad that this is going to be if it is his final film, I'm glad that it's this. I liked The Wind Rises, but it was also like the least like fantastical and the more, it's really a kind of a biography.
The other thing you hope there is this was a completed film by him while he was alive.
Yeah.
you have to wonder with how old he is now,
Yeah.
how long these take. If he started a film this year,
Yeah.
he's 85,
Yeah.
83.
83.
He's 83.
he'd be 90 if you say 7 years. And while, yeah, he could make it, will he?
Yeah.
And then we have the issue of, okay, so we've got a half-finished film. Do we finish it and release it in the quote-unquote vision
Yeah.
of Miyazaki, or do we shelve it? And then, but everybody knows there's an unfinished film out there.
An unfinished Miyazaki film.
Yeah.
We want to see that. We want somebody to finish it.
Yeah.
It becomes this weird damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Kind of like what happened with Brian Jakes
Yeah.
with the Redwall stuff. You know, I mean, he did so many of them, and he was like halfway through 2 different books, and they got completed.
Well, you got that Robert
they
Jordan.
were-
Robert
Crap.
Jordan.
Actually, I think you have a very good example of it with AI from Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
And you brought in obviously to me the person who, as far as auteur, was passed the torch to from Kubrick to Spielberg. But yeah, that movie's disjointed.
I guarantee you, though, that in the future, after whenever time takes its time, we will have a story written by Miyazaki, but animated from other people within the studio.
It's quite possible.
Because they know everything as as well as they can for how to produce one of these movies.
Yeah.
With his guidance throughout all of these years, and I think that is definitely a possibility. If nothing else, at least one of those newer movies that come out after that will be a story written by him, just to carry on the passing of the torch,
Yeah.
if you will. Because it'll probably, if that is a thing that does happen, it will be because he wants it to be a thing in his last,
Yeah, and I don't think Miyazaki is one that like, he's one of those old people who just likes to work and feels
Yeah.
like he is fulfilled when he is working.
Right.
So if this is not his last film, I would not be surprised.
Work for a lot of people, especially creative spaces, like keeps their longevity going. Betty White lived to be 99 years old because she kept working.
Yeah.
Like we joke about like successful people, like, oh, they're gonna die on their workbench, or same jokes been made with Miyazaki.
Oh yeah.
It exists. That phrase exists because there are people that are like that.
Yeah. And Miyazaki, I feel like, is one of them because, again, like we've joked several times, like he's said this is my final film like 18 times.
Wasn't Mononoke the first?
Mononoke was the first.
No.
But yeah, it's this is I think a phenomenal work, and like I said, it's his most personal. Usually, like the ideas that he deals with are like very big and broad and like worldwide kind of way, speaking,
Right.
because he talks about environmentalism. But they did start getting more and more personal, because when Rises was also kind of personal. It was about like, how do you deal with being a creative person and wanting to create something, but also seeing that thing be used for the worst thing.
Right.
Like, so that it started getting, like, his movies have started getting more and more personal. I think, like I said, this is his most personal film.
Like, because a lot of his films have like depending on what the film is, have like an emotional weight to it, like Totoro, like My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah.
And but even though I enjoy, I really do enjoy like Howl's Moving Castle and Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away. Spirited Away, I guess, definitely has a lot more of that kind of emotional weight to it. This movie here feels like it's like, for me, like it's really hard for me to compare it to anything else in the scope of like how deep it is.
Yeah. Really quick, I forgot to do this while we were doing this,
Sure.
but there's the Ghibli Food Watch.
Oh, okay.
We got when
Was a lot of butter.
when
That was a lot of butter.
Well, when Mahito was with Kiriko, she made some soup that looked very not appetizing.
Yeah.
It was some type of like fish soup.
But then when Mahito was in Himi's house. She cut some very nice bread, and then she put the most butter that you've ever seen
Half
on.
a stick of butter on a
This-
piece of
most
bread.
jam.
And this butter looked like sunshine.
Yeah, it did.
This did look like the best butter that you could possibly
jam
get.
looked
Paula
good,
Dean
too.
would have been like, eh.
And then she put this jam over it, which is like
half a jar of
that's a
jam.
lot. But it did like so. We finally got some like really nice looking cooking.
One
with
bite,
this.
and like half his face is covered in jam.
Maybe if we do this again, as much jam is on his face as much blood was on the side of his head when he bashed his head in with a rock. So yeah, we wanted to get that out real quick. Does anybody have anything else? I guess if not, we will.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was robed. I just wanted to get that line in there. That's it.
Okay.
Remember, it was up for best animated feature along with this. And this one, and then one of the people who was in the movie said Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was robed.
Oh yeah.
So I just wanted to get that random
Across the
comment.
Spider-Verse was very good, but Across the Spider-Verse is not a complete movie, so I'm not upset
Right.
with this movie winning. So yeah, that is, I guess, it for this episode.
And for Ghibli July. It's
and
all,
for Ghibli
we've done
July.
it.
We are done with Ghibli July.
We never came up with exactly what we were going to do next week, even though we said we had like a month and a half to do this.
So standard operating procedure.
So
you got
standard
it.
operating procedure.
Nothing has changed.
We've talked about some things, but we never like said exactly. We've got later in the month down. We just don't have next week. Next week.
Yep, that's again
So-
standard operating
well, it's
procedure.
like, you
So we pissed away all of this time that we built.
Well, before we started recording Ghibli, we had a month before the Ghibli show that we had to scramble for recording.
Yeah,
before
this
that,
is
so-
also true. So yeah, just join us next time to see what we're going to be doing. Let's do quick stuff. So you got whiskey and wrestling. If you want to listen to some guys talk about wrestling and then talk about whiskey, with that, listen to that. Jason Holder, our friend, who is right here.
Hooray.
Hooray!
Yeah, if you got any of our wrestling references that were done during this,
Yeah.
listen to us. We
You're like, this Dave
We'll have
Bautista
some
sounds
stuff.
interesting.
absolutely.
This parakeet is cool.
Yeah.
I almost called him
Who
a
is
pigeon
Ric
again.
Flair, really?
You should make Michael watch this movie and then
Don't
later
don't
then
tell
at the
him.
very end tell him like that was Batista.
Right. No, see, I had an idea earlier where we could review the first ever War Games match and the NXT that was surrounding that. And then you guys need to review the movie War Games. And we'll all meet together and discuss.
I love the idea, but we've watched 5 movies in a row. We can't.
Well, he's not talking about right now, but I think it would also, the episode would be which one aged the best.
Yeah.
War Games.
It's
is
gonna
the
be it's gonna be the wrestling problem.
Yeah.
I don't know. It depends on if Velveteen Dream was on that or not.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so check that out anywhere where podcasts are released. We got Fearology. Fearology is done by our own Jody Kite.
He released a
He actually has a new episode out.
New episodes on Virology.
New episode.
He has a new episode out, so
How
go
many
and check that
passwords?
out.
15.
All right.
On Resident Evil is what you said?
Yeah, it's Resident
It's on
Evil.
Resident Evil. The games mostly, not the movies.
I talk about the movies for like maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah, okay. So if you're a real Paul W.S. Anderson fan,
Oh, man.
find someone else.
You remember in the games, Brady, where like there was a hive underneath the mansion and there was an Alice in Wonderland program for
Yeah.
some reason?
Yeah, that's great.
And that's the good movie.
yeah.
You're all going to die down here.
We got
That's the second video game.
Bearded Drums with what's their names?
Stephen Nelson II and Jarrett Taylor.
There you go. They talk about
Jarrett
drums
actually
and
played over at the Juke Joint last Sunday.
Oh, that's pretty cool. They do some really cool stuff talking about drums, and they do like playthroughs and things like that. I watched a really cool video where this old lady did the drumming part for Wipeout.
Oh,
it was
nice.
really fucking cool. She was fucking beating the shit out of those drums. But yeah,
We need to show JT Nyangu Star.
Yes.
Yes.
That's also true.
Why haven't we done this yet?
No, I'll tell you why we haven't done this yet. Because he thinks Jason Bonham is a bad drummer, and
right.
that I was about to say
he
Van
had
Halen,
never
my
heard of John Bonham.
John Bonham, yeah.
I think
doesn't
Jason Bonham
and
is
he
his son.
Yeah, it's his son, who's also a good drummer. Is right, but
Yeah.
but he also doesn't like John Bonham.
Yeah.
and he thinks Led Zeppelin is overrated. So he is a musician, but he has differing tastes than the norm.
He
Yeah.
has his own musical taste.
If you ask him who the,
say he
Oh, Neil
marches
Peart,
to the
not
beat
good.
of a different drummer.
Yeah.
Neil Peart was not good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. See, we don't talk about this much, but Ethan Skinner, percussionist during his high school days in the band.
okay.
So
Learn
when
something
that
new every day.
So when that washed over, that was actually from actual knowledge. So yeah.
Actual knowledge.
So check them out. We got the completed podcast by what are their names, Ethan?
Christopher
Vega, Brandon Scott Tanner, and Brandon Smith.
Yes.
Magic the
They talk
Gathering.
about Magic the Gathering from
Expensive cardboard.
expensive cardboard. Giving tips, talking to people who play the Magic professionally. Brandon Scott Tanner was a professional player at one time, so you get like from his perspective. So if that sounds interesting to you, check them out as well. That is everybody. Fuck all of you. I did them all myself.
Hell yeah.
With no help whatsoever. Don't go back and listen to when I asked for what the names were.
I
Fuck
would like to take a moment to thank Ethan Skinner for letting us have our episode in his
Thank you to
house.
Ethan's God Emperor of Gaming at
Yeah.
Ethan Skinner's house.
Yeah. They might have a couple puzzles. I can't see any, but
I have a board game selection.
Yes.
he does have a board game selection.
Yeah.
I was looking for
He
puzzles
does
and
have
shit.
They're not for sale though.
They have a bunch of Legos which
Look,
are a
back, look,
puzzle.
look
Yeah.
past the Lego sets, the baby owlbear on the shelf.
Yeah. Okay. I can't see that well. Anyway, that's it. We're rolling into the station. Our driver is high on acid, so we really need to like pull over real quick.
He's not high. He just watched the movie with us.
It's same difference. So join us next week for insert here what we're going to do.
They're going to think I cut that in, and it wasn't. It was very good. I like that.
Make
so-
that a button.
Until then, my name is Brady Davis. Which way are we going?
I'm James McCarthy.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
I'm Jody Kite.
And I'm done.
And that's it for Travelers on the Omnibus. Thank you.
Good stuff.
This is where we're.
Yeah, you guys all walk away, and I'll just stay with the ending.
It's typically you and me that stay with you.
Yeah, usually. You can walk out if you wanted to, man. You're not.
I mean, it's my house.
That is true.
My house.
Part of the bit.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
Get out of my house.